Welcome home. This is the Irish Roots Cafe, where every day's a holiday and there's always room for one more. Hey, come right this way. Have a seat with me today in that corner booth of mine, celebrating our 116th week. Sweeney, clear that floor. Katie, bar that door. Molly, put on another pot of Irish coffee and bring out the Irish dancers. It's time we get this show on the road. We're just back from the National Archives and 2 weeks of broadcasting there, so it sure is nice to be home. And I believe the Irish saying goes like, Nelaine Tinton Marta Hinton Fain, or something very close to that, I think. There's no fireplace like your own fireplace. I'm Mike OLaughlin, your host, and you can reach me on my webpage at irishroots.com and check out the written show notes on my blog, too. And you can search our books and videos and podcasts for free. And we've got a lot of new things coming up there shortly this month or next. And also remember to call me at 816-256-3360 to leave your comments on my recorder. Try it, you'll like it. Among today's topics, the Irish family name of the week is Anderson. The Fighting Sullivan, Demsey, and Corbett exhibit. The book of the month is County Derry, or known to some as County Londonderry. Searching for Moriarty, Larned, and Brannagan. Exactly what Irish records were destroyed in 1922. What were the 10 worst accents in Hollywood? And Scotland's first true heritage center. Good news for genealogy. Well, now it's going to be time to take some time out here and just do the notes for the week. And like I said, last 2 weeks were really fun. We got to go down to the National Archives and talk to the original folks who started the assistance program, so to speak, down there, and I sure enjoyed it. Matter of fact, I recognized a couple of those folks from way back when they first started, and I didn't actually click on that until about 15 minutes into the interviews, and then I realized it. But, you know, we just recorded, now that we're back, we jumped out yesterday and we ran out and recorded the annual street party for the oldest Irish business in North America. And that would be Brown's Market and Deli, of course. I've done that for a couple of years in a row now, and it sure is good. And they're the oldest Irish-owned business in North America. That is amazing. And that's in Kansas City. So while I was at the National Archives, I figured I'd stop by for that. And I'll be posting some of those neighborhood memories and maybe even a few music things, probably on the Irish in America broadcast series sometime soon. So I'll make a note on that, let you know when that's coming out. It will probably be on one of our other podcast series. And you can also see our earlier podcast we did with Brown, or at the Browns Festival. They're interesting too. Now we'll move on to number 2. The National Archives just released, and this is the National Archives in Ireland. The last couple of weeks we've been at the National Archives in America, but now we're talking about the National Archives in Ireland. And you know why we've been to both of them? That's because every day is a holiday at the Irish Roots Cafe. Now, the most recent counties that were added to the 1911 census records, searchable for free online, are Cork, Donegal, Galway, and Offaly, which is also Kings County, and Wexford. Now, those are added to the counties that were already on there, which was Dublin City and County, Antrim, Down, Belfast, and Kerry. So if you're in those counties, you might find some records there of interest from 1911, from the 1911 census. And remember, you don't actually have to look for your specific ancestor. You could look for their children that were left behind, or some of the places where the same surnames existed. If you've got a rare name, you got to play detective. And now they say not everything from those counties are online yet on 1911. They said some Irish language entries and some reader corrections still need to be added. Now, you can search those Irish census records online at the nationalarchives.ie. I've got a link on the blog. You can get there real quick. Number 3, this Saturday, that's the 13th, we're going out again. I think we're setting some kind of record here. We're taking another road trip, firing up the van, and we'll be at the Celtic Ranch in Weston, Missouri. And that's not too far from O'Malley's Pub, so I tell you, when it's over, we might just move right over to O'Malley's. But it's going to be our first Irish sing-along session for 2009. Now all I need is some singers and musicians, although Terry there at the Celtic Ranch tells me that we already have a bang-up 5-year-old fiddler. So boy, won't that be something. And we're thinking some other people might just drift on in too to help us with the music. Let me know if you might show up. Just say Irish Roots Cafe or OLaughlin at the door to get past Sweeney, who'll be guarding that very carefully. On the other hand, you might just say, where's the sing-along? That might get you in a little better. Now, remember, our Irish Song and Recitation podcast series is still going on. We just had, I think I got one more before I'll close up this season on that. And you can get that on my webpage, or you can go to iTunes and get it there. Got a link on the blog. And number 4, just to keep you up to date, we're doing well on Twitter, just sort of figuring it out. Some people get on there and sign up to get posts, email notices, so to speak, from thousands of people, and I don't see the intelligence of that for me, because I can't follow 10,000 people every day. Nobody can. So I've just held it down to the few I can handle, and it looks like about 3 or 400 is all I'm going to be able to do maximum. And other people, I might just go and look at them occasionally, but not be signed up. But I tell you, you ought to check it out if you haven't. There's more and more genealogy going there all the time. And our Twitter ID, if you go there, look for Irish Roots Cafe, no space between the letters, and I'll have a link on the blog. And that reminds me, there's been some of our favorite folks that have helped us out there, and that's this week we'll give a shout out to Engaging Ireland, and to Family Stories, to Irish Fireside, to Cherry Tea Time, to Irish Arts Center, and to Irish KC. All good people there, and all willing to help you out if you get on, so take note of that. Well, you know what? We're going to make a book of the month right now. And the book of the month, we're going to do several. We're going to make it County Derry is going to be the subject. And I think we'll mention 3 books here. One is County Derry or Londonderry Genealogy and Family History Notes. And, of course, I've talked about that before. That's from our 34-book set on Irish family history. And I'll have a link on the blog. You can go right there, and it talks about, in the description of the book, I list the names that are most common and some of the geographical divisions, that sort of thing. So that's a free checkout you can do. You don't have to buy the book. Hey, you can also go to a library. A lot of libraries have my books now. You know, it's been 20 or 30 years. 30 years. Well, maybe a few more than that. Hey, number 2, Londonderry Lands and Families. That's our other book specifically on County Londonderry or Derry. And that book, it's one of the hardbound volumes from our Conquest of Ireland set. That's a 4-volume set. And this one just talks about County Londonderry or Derry and the formation of the county and how it was put together, and the Londonderry Company from England, I think it was, and how they divvied up the land and what kind of things happened. And it's really a behind-the-scenes thing. You really ought to know if you're interested in history, because that gives you some details I've really never seen anywhere else. Number 3, I just looked around my library here, and I had the Civil Survey of County Londonderry or Derry on my shelf here, and I thought, well, heck, let's pull it out. And that's, that contains the barony of Coleraine, several parishes, looks like 10 or 11 parishes, an index of the lands, and an index of the Irish Papists. That, of course, would be the index of Irish Catholics there. And then separately, an index of Protestant proprietors and leasees. So it sort of divides it up there along religious lines, which also is sort of like political lines and cultural lines. And like I said, with an index of lands, and also it has a little bit on the barony of Lochensholen, and then it's got some more parishes there. It's not the whole county, but there's enough there to be interesting, and I just thought I'd let you know it's out there. I got it in a hardbound book form published many decades ago, but it sure is interesting if you're looking at people and lands in Londonderry. So that finishes the triumvirate of County Derry books we've got here today. Sure to be of interest to everyone. And hey, you know what we got coming up? We're going to hear about where you go to find about County Limerick arms and what's the deal? Were they fake arms? Were they counterfeit arms? Something was wrong. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But now you know what time it is. It's time to raise our eyes skywards, give thanks, and ask for help. Here are today's Magnificent Seven. Number 1, Diane Din of Portland, Oregon. Your County Mayo genealogy and family history notes has shipped. Denise E. Ford of Mount Compass, South Australia in Australia. Your County Down genealogy and family history notes book has shipped. Number 3, welcome to new member Joan Albright of Desborough, Canada. Your County Armagh genealogy and family history notes book has shipped. And she's looking for information on grandfather Daniel, who was born approximately 1872, maybe in Killarney. Parents Daniel Moriarty, and mother's maiden name Camille K. Larned. Number 4, new member Aaron Brannagan of New Milford, New Jersey. Welcome to the club. And they're searching for Brannagan, who came to Jersey City, New Jersey in May of 1848. Number 5, Annie J. Brooks of Dorset in the UK. Your Fall of Irish Chiefs and Clans, Volume 1 of the Conquest of Ireland series has shipped. Number 6, new member Diane Ricker of Falmouth, Maine, searching for the lineage of James Anderson, who is reportedly from Moneymore County, Londonderry, and he was one of those who immigrated to the U.S. in 1718 on a 5-ship Ulster migration. Oh, so he was part of a group. Might have some other people whose ancestor traveled with him on that group trip, and he supposedly was one of the original settlers of Londonderry, New Hampshire, in the United States, and they say, Diane says that was her 6th great-grandfather. Hey, you've done a lot of good work, research there. Very interesting. Number 7, Deborah Thompson of Research, Victoria, Australia. Your Annals of Ireland by the Four Masters has shipped. You know, that reminds me to say thank you to all of our members, because I need each and every one of you, and without you, I wouldn't have the books, I wouldn't have the podcast, wouldn't have the little CDs we're working on now, and we're getting ready to launch IrishRoots.com University. That's going to be something else too. Might take me a year to put it in place, but any of you folks out there got ideas or help, or think you might be able to do some podcasting with some information, let me know. We might be able to put something together. That's the whole point. Help everybody out. Well, now you know what? We're going to move on to the Irish family name of the day. Well, today's Irish family name is Anderson, no matter how you spell it. Today's family history is in honor of member Diane Ricker, and there's several related spellings of the name, as I'm sure you already know, and you can spell that Anderson on the end with an E-N or an O-N or an O-N-E, Anderson maybe. And some people even have had it related to the spelling of Andrew's son instead of Anderson, so plenty of changes there, and it's in several variant spelling groups. Let me see, number 24 I see here listed on my sheet, and that's taken from the Master Guide to the Various Spellings of Irish Family Names. Link on the blog. Now let's take a real quick look at some notes on the name, and as you probably already guessed, if you're an Anderson, you might know that it's a very common name in Scotland, and often is of Scottish origin when found in Ireland. Maybe most often, I'd say. And it's numerous in the North of Ireland, which, of course, is the closest to Scotland, and which has done more trading in people back and forth than any other portion of the land. And the name is also found all the way throughout the country, though, but it's concentrated up north. And the most common locations for the name in the 19th century, and that backs this up, that was in Antrim, Down, Derry, and Dublin. Now, Dublin, of course, is not in the north, but it just draws people from all over the whole country. And there were some 175 births of that name that were recorded in 1890. And that information is taken from the Book of Irish Families, Great and Small. Now we'll take a quick look at the Irish family coats of arms. And, in the Irish Book of Arms, there is no coat of arms given for Anderson, but there are, of course, several coats of arms out there from various places and countries for the name of Anderson. So you'll have to investigate it to be sure. I wonder, what else do we have coming up in this episode? That's right, the Scots-Irish. Since we're talking about the Andersons, there's a Scots-Irish Center that's just been set up in Ireland, and we'll tell you about that, and the 10 worst Irish accents in the Hollywood movies. Say it ain't so, Sean. But if we take one more look at Anderson, the Freemaster Index search of Irish family names at irishroots.com finds the family, where do we find it? 58 times. And it's pretty widespread, but here we'll just give you a few examples from that index, which is free to pull that up. The families of County Kerry, the families of Donegal. Go back a little earlier, the Milesian families of Ireland has them listed. County Antrim genealogy and family history notes. It's also in Names of Irish Passengers to America with, over 25 listings it shows here. Then it's also in the Fall of Irish Chiefs and Clans. There's an E. Anderson and a F.I. Anderson and a J. Anderson. And also in that same series is Pinner's Survey of Ireland. And there's an A. Anderson in that and a J. Anderson. And that was a special census of Ireland. It's one of those 4 volumes of that 4-volume set from the Conquest of Ireland by Hill. And we, of course, have each one of them separately right now until they run out. Well, that sort of does it for the official name report. Let's move on now to the websites of the week. Well, let's pick 3 of them this week. Number 1, Londonderry, Ireland. That'll go along with our book of the month, and where a lot of those Andersons are found too, and a lot of other families as well. The Londonderry, Ireland Genealogy Forum, that's the Gen Forum. Got a link to that on the blog. Number 2, I saw over 1,000 Anderson genealogy queries. I think they spelled it there with an O-N, but I think it's pretty much mixed. And that's on Cousin Connect. Got a link on the blog. And number 3, I thought it was important for folks to look and see what Irish records were really destroyed in the Public Records Office in 1922. I tell you what, I've been doing this for 30 years, and 30 years ago, they just used that as an excuse to say, well, I can't help you, or I don't have time for you, or there's just no way. They just say it was the Troubles, of course, and they'd emphasize 1922. And, of course, they stored those records in the strongest room in the building. And, of course, that's where some of the bombs landed, and that just ruined everything. And a few volumes that were out in the reading room survived, and I think it was a lot of the Church of Ireland records were destroyed terribly in some censuses. But you go to the link on our blog, and that will tell you exactly what was there. It's a nice little article. Now it's time to move on to everybody's favorite, our last segment, Curious News and Notes. Well, number 1, those Somali pirates are going to have to answer to the Irish Navy from now on. The EU operation is having 2 Irish officers sent to combat the pirates off the coast of Somalia. And Defense Minister Willie O'Day got permission to send the officers to mission headquarters. Got the article there, linked to that on the blog. Number 2, a Fighting Irishman exhibit is launched at the Ulster American Folk Park in Omagh in Northern Ireland, and it tells the story of Celtic prize fighters right down on into modern times. Take a look. Ireland's best Olympic record, was also in boxing, so there's some kind of history there. Maybe there's something to that Fighting Irish deal. Some of the names given are names like John L. Sullivan, we all know him, Jack Demsey, Gentleman Jim Corbett, I think he's in there too, along with a bunch more. And that was from the BBC. You got the link on my blog. Number 3, it seems like even the County Limerick coat of arms has been in error for about 400 years. The Chief Herald didn't get it fixed out there for the last 400 years, but you know what? Now this current Chief Herald sure has done it, and they presented the correct arms to the mayor, who was John Gilligan. And now I wonder if any of the arms we all have been messing with for all these years, how many of them might have a small defect or two. You should go back to the old originals. But you know what? I went back to some of those old heraldic books, the originals, and some of those were wrong. One year they'd be drawn one way and another year another, or the name would be spelled differently. You got to use your heads, folks. You just can't take anything for granted. And let me see, number 4, the peoples of Scotland and Ireland have a shared history in the north of Ireland, and particularly in the province of Ulster, like we've mentioned several times in this podcast. And the Monray Manse Heritage Center in Donegal does document and honor the Scottish heritage in Northern Ireland, the province of Ulster, and that includes the plantation of Ulster in the 17th century. And we've been talking about that too, so it's going to get some good attention there. If you've got some heritage along that line, you'll want to take a look. Number 5, Susan Boyle. She's that great singer that came out of nowhere on Britain's show Got Talent TV show. But you know what? Everybody was shocked when a street dance group beat the odds and all the money that was being bet. Susan Boyle lost to the street dance group. Now, those dancers comprised a set of 3 brothers and 4 friends. Boy, does that make 10 people? Would that be 10 to 1? No wonder she lost. And all that against poor Susan Boyle. But not to worry, she's warmly congratulated them, and she's working on a music contract of her own, and she ought to be just fine. Everything should level off here. We'll give good wishes to her. And number 6, we'll wrap it up. IrishCentral.com gives us the 10 worst Irish accents in Hollywood. And among them are the lovely Julie Roberts. You might not even notice that she couldn't say it right. She would probably look so fine. And Sean Connery, and gosh, Sean acts so good. You might even miss it there on him. But boy, oh, Kevin Spacey was one of those 10 worst. And I've got to admit that his wasn't too good at all. But that's on Irish Central. We've got a link on the blog. You can go right there. That does it for the day. Just remember, we've got the Irish sing-along if anybody wants to go. I think I'll bring my recorder and record some of the stuff that passes muster, and we'll play it on a podcast or two here just to warm things up, maybe a new introduction. And remember to send your comments by clicking the contact link on our webpage at irishroots.com, or send by mail to our American address at the Irish Roots Cafe, Box 7575, Kansas City, Missouri, 64116. Leave your message or report on things in your part of the world when you call my phone recorder at 816-256-3360. Skype me at Irish Roots Cafe. Find me on MySpace at Irish Roots Cafe. Find me on Facebook at Mike OLaughlin, and on Twitter as Irish Roots Cafe. Members foot the bill so they get first priority, but we're open to all. And by the way, a big thank you to all of our members. And away.